Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear me loud and clear? Do a quick audio check. Sorry for the delay. I think we're about a minute late, but we are good to go. Hopefully, let's get an audio video confirmation situated here. A lot of moving parts on Topstep TV this week, but glad to be here. Looks like we're good in the chat. Thank you all for confirming. Welcome to Slow Markets. Welcome to Slow Markets. I am Coach Jay, going to be filling in for Coach Dakota, who is on a well-deserved vacation this week in the Bahamas. I think he is going to be popping in probably from time to time on Topstep TV, but I am going to be running Slow Markets this week. Just so everyone knows, we're going to be doing tonight, tomorrow night, Tuesday, and Thursday this week. We're going to be taking off, so I'll be doing tonight, tomorrow night, um, Wednesday, and that's it, right? Because there's no slow markets on Friday, just so everyone knows, so you can put it in your calendar. And then Dakota will be back next week. All right. So, how's everybody's weekend? How was everyone's weekend? I had a nice, relaxing weekend. Spent some time with my brother, my niece and nephew, um, nephews. But it was good. Good. Happy Sunday. Glad to be here. Shout out to Nick for a tick starting us off for the week with his market kickoff. If you haven't watched that, I would suggest going and watching that. The information that Nick gives us, especially from the volume profile perspective, usually ends up being pretty relevant later on in the week. Uh, I'm going to be on with Nick tomorrow for Fast Markets. We'll be talking about that a little bit, but check out that market kickoff if you don't. It's every Sunday. But let's get into it. Let's talk about what we're seeing in the markets tonight. We are going to do Dakota's normal kind of rapid fire, go through four major markets that we trade with Top Step accounts, and then we'll talk about some maybe some outside markets. I know micro Bitcoin is going to be one that people are looking at right now. With the uh, comments out of from the president about a crypto reserve, including Bitcoin, Solana, XRP. Of course, we trade micro Bitcoin futures here, so it is going to have an effect there. But let's get into this markets. I normally start with at least a daily time frame on all the markets that I look at. And then for day trade perspectives, we're going to go to a 30-minute chart and then to a 3-minute. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I think we got Andrew with us tonight. If not, he'll be with us through the rest of the week, but I'll try to get to as many questions as possible. Tonight, we're only going to do an hour. We're going to do an hour. It is Sunday night. I got to get some rest for fast markets tomorrow, so we'll see what we can do tonight. But let's take a look at the NASDAQ. So we know last week we had this sell off, pretty big sell off. Out of the one range I was looking at last week was this December 18th range in the equities. The low of that was 21,300, we'll call it. We sold out of that and closed outside of that range. Now, what I'm looking at on a daily is this 200 moving average, which is this white line you see on my charts here. Uh, on a daily chart. Now, if we zoom out, that is not a level that we check often. We can see the last time was in September, before that, August, and then before that, it was 2023, October 2023, which was the last time we were checking this 200 moving average on the daily. So this is pretty significant, right? What we've seen in the past was every time the market comes down and tests this level, it's an area to buy it, at least for a longer time frame. What does that mean for our day trades? You know, the markets are going to move up and down, but could this be the potential bounce area where after we saw a sell off, the market now finds some buyers to kind of push us back up to all time highs? Uh, so let's see what we have on a shorter time frame. Again, this 200 moving average we saw yesterday, Friday's close, right? So Friday's close was insane. Um, the Nasdaq was up 1.45% on Friday, and if you watch the price action on Friday, it didn't feel like a day that we were up almost 1.5%. Right? We know most of that move came within the last hour and a half of the market, where, in my opinion, it was a bit of a short covering rally. We had the end of the month. We had pretty much been down all month, and maybe some profit taking to close the month there. But right now, we did have a gap up. I'll go out to a 30-minute chart here. There's still a lot of room to the upside here. If we're going to see that short covering rally, this was just the beginning of it, I would think. The way I look at this is from the high of that sell off down to these lows. We're still in the lower half of that. 21,400 is right about 50% of that sell off. So there's another 400 points up. The way I'm looking at this now, how do we get there? That's what we have to decide as day traders. And for right now, I'm not seeing too much of a reason to buy this. I would be leaning long in the equities, but and that's just because of the higher time frame, right? We came off that daily 200 moving average, so I'm leaning long. But we've also seen these markets not really be able to hold a bid for the last 2 weeks, right? So that doesn't have to be the case now, right? Buyers don't have to step in now. We do have this major 21,000 right above us where we gapped up to open the Globex session. We traded above 21,000. No convinced buyers up there yet, but the way I'm looking at this is the lower volume time, lower volume session, this overnight session still presenting some nice trades, right? This is a 100 point move here in the Nasdaq from high to low, made 200 points actually. Uh, so still a lot of opportunity tonight, and let's see what we might be looking at here. So we have this Globex open. It's this first 3 minutes here. I'm going to attach a VWAP to that, and right now it's a sell signal, right? A sell signal, maybe back down into this range that we had yesterday. I don't see too much of a trade right here. Uh, I don't see too much of a trade here, but what I'm looking at is, let's try to make a case for both sides, right? If we were to buy this, conservative targets would be where this VWAP is right now. If I was to buy it right here, right now, I would want to see what the market says about this VWAP because so far it's been selling. Second, I want to see what the market says about 21,000, right? Because that's a major level. In order for us to push up, we're going to need some convinced buyers. And then to the downside, we have this spike from Friday, right? We have this power hour from Friday that we're trading in now. Uh, do we sell off back to 20,800, right? That would be my question here. Right now, I don't really see a trade, but if we got down towards these 800s, maybe even closer down to 750, I'd be comfortable buying down here. Could I do a slow markets trade where I just put on an order, limit buy down here right around these 745s, 750s? Maybe, but I think by the time we get down here, we'll probably be in fast markets tomorrow. So I could always just trade it live then. Right. Let's keep going through. Gold did look pretty interesting tonight. Um, gold has been a market that's been in this uptrend for a year and a half, and we saw a pretty decent sell-off, right, going into the close of the week. We sold off about 5% from the all-time high in gold. Not exactly 5%, but pretty close to it. And I'm looking for places to buy gold as well. Now, on a higher time frame, let's go out to a daily. We can see we are in an uptrend. The 20 moving average is above the 50, is above the 200, and it's natural in a market that's making new all-time highs like this to see pullbacks actually healthy, and we want to see that, right? Now, where can we buy gold? We can see on the higher time frame we had this what was a previous all-time high at 28.53. We'll call it. On Friday, we came down and checked that. It held as a support. So is this resistance become support now, an area to start buying gold again? If you look and you zoom out on a higher time frame, anytime we've had any of these pullbacks, they've been bought. Now, does that mean that that has to happen now? It doesn't. But I am looking for places to buy gold right now. Looking at the first 30-minute open, uh, first 30 minutes on the open, right, to tonight's candle. Here, we're holding 50% of that at 28.77. And VWAP's kind of a flat line. So right now, do I see a trade in gold? I don't. For a potential slow markets trade, I actually am in a long in a practice account. Didn't feel comfortable with this one, putting it on in an XFA. I've been trading really well over the past week and a half or so. So there's a specific time for my trading that has been working really well, and it hasn't been this Globex session. But I am in a gold long, kind of off of that 50% as this is holding. Uh, the risk on this trade is the question, right? This trade location, if I was able to get trade location down near 2870s, I'd be a lot more comfortable, probably even in a two lot. But because this 50% has been holding, but I also want to give the market the space to kind of trade through this 30-minute candle if it needs to. I wouldn't take this in a personal account or in a funded account with a mini, right? I'd be in this trade with a couple of micros just because I want to, from the market structure perspective, right? If it makes a new low, then okay, I'm okay being wrong. But if the market wants to trade through this range, I want to give it the space without having to kind of pinpoint my entry. So right now I'm long gold 2876. The target on this trade would be 2896, and that was Friday's high at 2896, which is Friday's high. And then above that, of course, we have that major level 2900 that the market has to make a decision about, right? Anytime I look at some of these major numbers, it's you know when we get here, what is the market saying? Are we convinced enough to continue buying? Right, we be approaching that level from below it, so we need buyers to trade up to it. But when we get there, are they convinced enough to continue buying it? So I would be thinking about position management as we got up here. Kyle Armstrong, I'm not Dakota. That is right. That is correct. I'm Jay. Nice to meet you, though, Kyle. Uh, what's my preferred time? So I like trading during the New York session. I'm a volume and momentum trader. So the way I look at my trades is, I can go level to level. I can go, I can pick a price, but I say that price is only as relevant as the volume that trades there, right? So if I think if I personally think 28,800 or 2880 is an important level in gold, that's fine. But if the market doesn't agree with that, then that's only my opinion, right? I don't trade an account big enough to move the markets, so I have to identify what the market is saying about it. And for me, the most volume comes in during that New York session, which is the way I look at it, going to be the strongest opinion. Does any of the Top Step TV team scalp at all? Top Step TV team, I'd say Mo is probably the closest to a scalper that we have. Uh, Coach Robert, every time Coach Robert's on, he is what I would call a Nasdaq scalper, right? Where he is looking for trades anywhere from 8 to 10 point profit target, 8 to maybe 12 point profit targets in the Nasdaq. He's probably the closest that we have to a scalper. Uh, All right, but let's see here. So yeah, this gold trade, I would just leave this on. This would be a slow market trade I would leave on. Maybe I do put this on in a couple micros. If we get back down to 50% of this 2880, 2877, I may put a couple micros on there. If it gets back down there by the time we're on the stream, maybe I'll put it on. But if not, see what happens tomorrow. But I am bullish gold, at least back up to 2900. And again, anything we say here is for educational purposes only, not a suggestion to take a trade. I know Nightbot is in here every once in a while, uh, sending out that risk disclosure, but let me send that out as well. Uh, and you guys clearly can see that I'm trading this in a practice account right now because this is not my uh, ideal time of trading. But again, if a trade sets up, I will take it. Right. Right. That's gold. Let's do quick, keep going, quick rapid fire. Let's go to crude oil. Crude oil, crude oil. Going back out to the daily after that combine gambling. So yeah, Dakota was he was just having fun before vacation. He was just in a 15 lot, just 15 lots, just throwing size around, just having fun, kind of trying to show how not to trade, which I thought was a good example, right? It might get clipped up for social media, and it's like, oh, what is this guy doing? He's blowing accounts, but he was just having some fun before vacation. So let's look at crude oil on a daily. Crude is a range bound market if we zoom out on a daily, right? Ranging on a higher time frame between 60 and 80. Right now we're kind of right in the middle of that, and you could probably say that range is a little bit tighter. Maybe the low of the range is closer to 68. and the highs are 80. So right now, I would be looking to buy crude. I know some of the fundamental news that we have in crude oil is bearish, but I'm not a fundamental trader, right? So from a technical perspective, this is coming off of a demand area, right, down near these 68s and bouncing from it. The white line here again is that 200 moving average. This is a daily chart and it's a pretty flat line. So if we can see what happens, sometimes the market trades below it, sometimes it trades above it. So far, we've been trading below it and we came down to a demand area. So this is giving me an area to limit risk for buys back up towards the high of that range. Let's go out to a 30-minute chart now, zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to look at the Globex Open, which again is 8 p.m. Sorry, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Central Time. What am I saying? 6 p.m. Eastern Time. 6 p.m. Eastern Time is the Globex Open. And here is that range with the VWAP attached. So now this right here, to me, is everything that I need for a buy signal, right? We have the range established. VWAP left the range. We can see we came back, tested that VWAP. If I was watching this, I'd be in long crude right now, and I might just put a bid in here uh, just to see if we come back down and test it. 70.30 would be my bid here for crude oil. And then if I'm looking for targets, same thing. I'm always going to go with a conservative target first, and then where I would want the market to go. Conservative target, if I get in long crude here, has to be $71, right? It's just the next major level above. It's 50 ticks above where we're at. I could want this to run all the way up to 72, but I got to watch what the market says about, some of these major levels here. Uh, could I also, there is also this yesterday's high right above where we're at right now, 70.50, 70.54. So I'd want to see it push above. So two ways I would enter this trade right now on a medium time frame. It's saying if I get a pullback buy here, but this on a higher time frame could also be a level that is a resistance and continues to be a resistance. So two ways I'm thinking about this: I either get in here at 70.30. When we push back up to 70.50, I would think position management, because if we don't push above this, then I'll take the 20 ticks. Or I could wait for the market to trade above this level, come back and use it as a support, and then buy on the retest of 70.50s. Um, so two different ways to manage it. If I was able to get in lower than 70.50 right now, ideally I'd take, let me change this to uh, two lots. Ideally I'd take two, take one off at 70.50 if we hesitate, and then the runner would go to break even at this point once I take profits on this one, because then I can manage the trade with just that one lot. Right. Have you ever looked into market internals such as Tick, ADD, VOLD? If so, thoughts on using them to find trades? If no, why not? I've looked into them, and this is a question from IM. I've looked into them. It's not something that I built a strategy around, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong, right? I think there's a point where we have to filter what we use in order to make decisions. And could those internals give you information to make a market decision? They absolutely could, right? So if you use them, keep using them. Uh, I just haven't built my strategy around them, and I think I have enough information right now in order to make trading decisions, right? And the way I like to look at it is I don't need to know where the market is going to go. I just need to know what I need to have enough information that I'm comfortable putting risk behind a trade. There's a ton of times where I might get the market dead wrong and still be able to make money for the day because I've repeated a pattern. Right? We saw Dakota last week. Make money in a market that was selling off 1.5%, only buying it. Right? And if he was looking at internals and things like that, maybe he would have stayed out of those longs. Um, but trading the patterns that he saw, he's just, hey, this is enough for me to take a trade. Do you still trade 6J? I do. I don't trade it as much as Coach Paul does, but yeah, it's the Japanese yen is a great market to trade. Great market to trade. What did we do? So we went over gold, we went over crude oil, went over the Nasdaq. On the Nasdaq here. Let's go down to a shorter time frame again. Yeah, this is just feel like anything I take right here, this is a 50-50, right? The market could bid from here or sell right back off into this range. And I'm not seeing someone saying that the NASDAQ right now needs to go clearly in any direction. Um, so I'm going to stay out of this. This gold trade is just looking pretty good. We have rejected a couple of times at the close of this first 3 minute candle up here at 28.84. So what I'm looking for right now is to close on a 3 minute candle above 28.84. Then I could move the risk up in this trade. Uh, just a suggestion. Recently, the house account is taking good trades, but issues with lot size. We don't have to trade five, but at least go up to two to have a better runner. Anwar, I think that's a good point. We are refining that house account process. I think we've been a lot better at it. Um, and yeah, the position sizing is up to the house account manager at the end of the day, right? We're kind of giving out trade ideas, or saying, "Hey, I'm looking at this," and then the house account manager decides how they're going to execute that trade idea, right? I would like to see at least every trade with a three lot, because then that gives us trade management opportunities, right? Sometimes when we take, and even in my own trading, right, I have to be conscious of that, right? If I take a one lot, I have to make a finite decision about this trade, right? Either I'm going to stay in it or I'm not. But once I'm out, if I want to get back into it, right? Same thing with this gold trade, I have to make decisions. Here's just a quick option right here. Let's just do this for the stream. Let's say I'm only in a one lot in gold right now, and I want to cut this position in half. I know Dakota has done this before where he kind of sells two micros against it. Something that I've been doing as well is just, right where we are right now. Let's say I want to cut this position in half. I'm in a one lot mini, right? But I want to continue with this trade. It's still one trade idea, right? Multiple executions of the same trade idea. If I want to scale out of this gold trade right now, I would just buy five micros and close out of that mini, right? So right now, I made $500 on that mini. Um, with the micros, I could risk about 250, and overall, that's a $250 trade, right? But now these micros give me an opportunity to kind of scale in and out as it goes. This practice account was already down for the day, so um, but hopefully that makes sense, right? I just cut the position in half, because otherwise I'd have to make a decision of whether or not I want to get out of it right there. MP seemed pretty adamantly against that on Friday. I don't know if I watched Topstep TV on Friday, but I got to rewatch that and see. But let's see what else we got here. I know Dakota looks at the Nikkei. Can you put up a poll to see who blew or passed combines, XFAs trading slow markets? I don't know if I have poll access actually. Yeah, I don't know if I can do polls. I just joined. Isn't now Topstep not allowed to trade MNQ and NQ as a hedge? I mean, what I just did wasn't a hedge, right? I just cut my position in half. Oh, against the micro to hedge the mini. Got you. Okay. Nasdaq looks like it's moving a little bit here, and coming back up to holding above that VWAP. Here's the first 3 minute opening range. Greetings from Cali, Colombia. Phoenix, thank you for joining us. All right, let's take a look at the Nikkei. I know that is the slow markets market. I don't trade it often, full disclosure. So, but I know we have some traders that do. It's $25 a tick, can get pretty expensive. But let's see what it might be saying right now. Go out to a daily. I know Dakota was talking about, this area in the Nikkei being a potential buy area. If we go back to, uh, we're going back to September, this has been a demand area where the Nikkei has bounced. Right now, we are kind of, testing that low a little bit. Right, we're extending that a little. Where really, I'd say the low of the demand area is up a couple points here, maybe at 38,000, where we're testing below that right now. So, uh, again, buyers in the Nikkei, if they like it, got to make a decision here, because otherwise there's a ton of room down to maybe 35,000. Uh, so looking here at the Nikkei, do I see a trade opportunity right now? I don't. If we are looking to sell this, kind of already did it, but this white line again, 200 moving average. This is now a 30-minute chart, and I like to look at the 200 moving average on a 30-minute for intraday trading decisions. Um, we kind of tested up towards it. We didn't get an exact test of it, but a rejection from it. Um, so any tests of this 200 moving average that don't look convincing, right? We don't see buyers, we don't see volume increasing as we approach that level. That would give me an opportunity to take a short. Right now, feels in the middle of the range. Not too much for me to do right here. Can you do a rundown again of what you just did? Okay, so I'm gonna go back to, so I was in a gold long, right? I was in a gold long from from right about 50% of this area right here, right? So it was in gold long from 28.77. Uh, and I was only in a one lot, so I have to make there's trade entry and exit decisions, and there's trade management decisions that we have to make. You know, position management, right? I'm only in one. Do I want to scale out? I consider that trade management, right? This is still one trade idea, but I want to scale out because the market is at a level of potential resistance. For my long, we can see it right here, right? The close of this first 3 minute candle is acting as a resistance. So I want to secure some profits, but how do I do that with a one lot um, mini? So what I do is I close the mini and then I buy five micros at that point. Now, what we can see right now is that those micros are in the negative. But if I think about this as one trade idea, I made $500 on that mini, and I'm only down 80 on the micros right now. So I made $420 for that trade. Now, if this comes back and stops me out, whether I was in a mini or a micro, this is the area that I want to get out of this trade. So if this comes back and stops me out, yes, on the unrealized P&L right now, this looks negative. But if I think about this as a general trade idea, if I get stopped out here, I made $250 on that trade. All right. But this is now giving me the opportunity as this continue if this continues to push up to scale out of this position now. So all I did was scale out. 250. What's going on, Doom? All right. You guys have any other questions? Let me know. Put them in the chat. Get to them. I am going to be with you guys all week and on Top Step TV a lot. Like Nick said, if you don't like seeing his face, maybe don't watch Top Step TV this week because we're going to be on there a lot, right? Dolby's doing a takeover later in the week. It's going to be a lot of fun, though. A lot of trading, hopefully, a lot of education. Hopefully, we're making some money. How do you know when to buy or sell? Uh, that is there a number big enough to answer that question? That's a $1 trillion question at minimum. How do you know when to buy or sell? For me, it is going to be anything based on volume, right? I'll explain more as we go on through the week, but something like this, right? I'm looking for see the future. I wish I did see the future. But something like this, right? I don't I can have levels, right? And I can identify price levels, but again, those levels are only as important as the market says they are. So for me, how do I know when to buy and sell? I read volume. For example, we had this opening 3 minute candle here. This is a level here because of this. So high volume traded. 50% of this is now a level to me. Why is it 50%? Just because when I back tested, 50% seems to work out every once in a while. So now from here, say, okay, how and I trade this. Now I know I'm on a 3 minute chart. Somebody else might be on a 5 minute chart. So these levels are going to be a little bit different. But what I want to look at is I don't want to buy it up here. If equilibrium 50% is down here, if I'm buying up here, I'm late. So if I want to buy gold, I'm looking for, and why I got in around 50% of this candle is because this here, come on, this candle that made this low right here showed me that seller stopped. So now this is giving me an opportunity to buy, right? Where we had some sell side pressure. Again, I'm going with the assumption that I don't want to buy highs because breakouts, especially for right now, are lower probability. So wait for sellers to fail. Now this is going to require patience, but they failed right here, right? They pushed it lower, they couldn't hit 50%, and now this is giving me an opportunity to limit my risk, right? Where I can buy it here and risk the low of these candles. And go from there. Right now, where do I sell? Back up at the high of this candle. What is the market saying? The last time it was up here, we rejected, right? We saw this big seller come in here. So why am I selling here? Because the market showed me the last time it traded here did not have the potential to trade higher. My higher time frame targets are still up here, but I'm always going to take something off the table when the market is willing to present it. Because I could measure this and say, yeah, I want it to go up here, but if the market doesn't agree with my trade idea, the market's going to win every time. Um, all right, G Man has a question here. I see sometimes you mark a 3 minute candle and some nights you mark the 30. When do you decide? It's a good question. So the 3 minute I'm usually going to use during faster market times. So during the New York session, when things are moving a little bit quicker, I'm going to go back to the NASDAQ for a second here. Uh, and let's go to a 3 minute chart on the NASDAQ. The one trade I took that was a really good trade on Friday was a short in the Nasdaq after we had the comments out of Trump and Zelensky, the little argument they had in the White House. This 3 minute candle here was that reaction to that. Same thing that we just did in gold. I don't want to sell it at the lows because of the potential of a retest, so I sold it at 50%. My risk goes above the high, and I'm just going to trail this lower as the market continues to go. Now, uh, this the reason I'm using a 3 minute chart here is because the potential for follow through in a short time frame is a lot higher, right? We talked about the New York session being higher volume, so moves happen a little bit easier, right? If we think about the volume, if we think about an ocean, right, the volume in a wave, right, the amount of water in a wave, the more aggressive it's going to be, the amount of like force behind it. If I'm trying to surf in a puddle, right, which might be lower volume times, I'm not going to go anywhere. So I'm thinking, hey, shorter time frame, there's potential for continuation. Let me trade here. Now, let me go down to a 30. Let me go to a 30 minute chart. On a 30 minute, it's kind of the same trade, right? Where we look at that 30 minute candle here, but I mean, we reject right again at 50% of it, but I might have to wait a little bit longer. So the reason I'm going with 30 minute candles at night is because I'm allowing more volume to give their opinion about the markets, right? You've seen Dakota sometimes, during slow markets in the Nikkei be the order book, right? I love Dakota, but his opinion overall can't change what the Nikkei is doing, right? In a short time frame, it can, but he's a trader. He's not an investor in the Nikkei, right? So at night, I want to give more market participants the opportunity to give their opinion about the markets, and then that helps me make decisions from there. Uh, Do you guys use Bookmap 2 for liquidity or the level 2? I don't use Bookmap. To me, it was just I got too many screens going on already. Um, so for me, the depth of market works. I do use Quantower, and there's a indicator on Quantower I have that's called level 2, and basically I have it filter out any bigger orders, so it helps me see it quicker, right? So I have a filter that says, hey, anything over 100 contracts in the NASDAQ, show a red line on my chart. So I don't have to scan up and down the depth of market to find it. If there is a feature request that I'm going to put in, TopStep X, that's definitely it. Um, because to me, being a volume trader, those orders mean a lot. My camera is delayed. Yeah, I don't, Mr. Venom, that's a good point. I don't, I gotta check that. I've seen that kind of rewatching the streams. That my camera does seem kind of delayed, so I gotta check what's going on there. Maybe I need to change the cable, but we'll try to figure that out. The level 2 indicator on Quantower, is it free? It is free, but you still need the market data, right? So you still need level 2 data. The indicator is free, but you need the level 2 data. What is your average trade time length in general? It's about 5 minutes, to be honest with you. It might take me 2.5 hours to wait for a trade setup, um, but it's about 5 minutes. Um, and that's on average because sometimes again I'm a momentum trader, I'm a volume trader, so sometimes if I get in a trade and I'm not seeing the momentum right away, I'll just get out, right? So it might be a 15-second trade. Winning trades that are working in my favor and continuing to go, I'll stay in, and that'll be anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. Why don't I use volume profile? I do. It's not a primary for me, but I do use it. Uh, And that's a good question, right? Everyone's asked, it's like, well, if you're a volume trader, why don't you use it? To me, honestly, this is my volume profile. Uh, volume, and what's funny is some people that use volume profile don't like volume by time, right? They'd rather see volume by price. Um, I think it really is just a preference. Um, all right. Let's check micro Bitcoin. We didn't take a look at that. I know the Nasdaq is moving a little bit, but here's micro Bitcoin. We heard the comments from the president talking about crypto reserves, including Bitcoin, Solana, XRP. I don't know if Ethereum was in that, um, but of course we trade micro Bitcoin futures here. I'm gonna go out to a daily again. Shout out to Coach Paul. Again, this 200 moving average, right? We've been talking about this, Coach Paul and I. If you haven't seen At the Buzzer, we do it every day after the markets close, right at 4:15 Eastern time. Bitcoin, since we traded above 100,000, since the inauguration, has been in a consolidation, uh, and we came down. And from a technical perspective, right, all the fundamentals out of the picture. From a technical perspective, what we did was come down and test the 200 moving average on the daily chart. Now, something Coach Paul said a couple months ago was Bitcoin is starting to trade a lot like the equity markets, with all of the kind of institutional money coming into it. And if we look, here's the NASDAQ testing that 200 moving average. Here's Bitcoin testing that 200 moving average. What happens here, right? Is it a coincidence that we bounce from here? That news comes out that's extremely bullish for Bitcoin? I don't know. Does news expedite the move? Who knows? Either way, right? We that news was bullish for Bitcoin, and technically, this chart is pretty bullish as well, right? Now, let's see for what we have today so far. And again, this gap is because the futures don't trade 24/7 like spot Bitcoin does. So, not surprised to see us trading through this, but I would not expect this gap from gap trading perspectives. I wouldn't. This gap doesn't have to fill, right? I'll say it that way. If Bitcoin wants to find a support somewhere, maybe at these highs, 93,000, and then bounce from there. Again, we're trading an asset that the underlying trades all the time, and then we have gaps in between, right? So while Bitcoin was getting bid over the weekend, you can't trade the micro Bitcoin futures. So again, this gap does not have to be filled. If we go back to the daily, there was this gap here that didn't get filled for 3 months. Um, so bullish micro Bitcoin. Honestly, this might be a decent spot to buy around here, where we got a little extended from this overnight view up. The one thing I love about micro Bitcoin futures, it trades really well. It's 50 cents a tick. Not going to cost you a whole lot. Even if I get a two lot here, even if that gap does fill, I'm risking $1,500 maybe with a two lot, right? And that's a pretty big gap. So, I mean, that would be a extremely negative risk to reward trade. But the probability of this gap filling, I would say, is pretty low. And I don't have to risk this much, right? Monica says, "Does Topstep X have a feature that will trail the account profit and exit the trade once it's traced back from the highs after a preset percentage?" Percentage, no. You can set the trailing loss limit on the account. Just remember that trailing loss limit that we set, the trailing stop. So let's go into the settings real quick. Risk settings. Can I not do it with a? Okay, here we go. So personal daily loss limit, you can enable trailing. If you want to leave a trade on, let's say you made some profits for the day, you want to lead a trade. I actually did this on Friday. You want to leave a trade on, Uh, but you may not want to watch it. You could set a trailing stop on the trade, um, or you could enable this personal daily loss limit and enable trailing from there. The one thing about this is it trails from the unrealized P&L high on the day. So let's say you have a trade that, let's say your trail is set to 500 bucks. Have a trade that goes 400 in your favor. Let me try to think about this the right way. It goes 400 in your favor. So then that, am I doing this right? Sorry. Yes, goes 400 in your favor, comes back, and then that trail is going to move, right? It's going to follow you. So I think some people have been finding out that it's been taking them out of trades earlier than they wanted to. So just be conscious of that. I would say just use a trailing stop for the trade, but there isn't anything right now that trails by percentage. Over the last year, what has helped you the most improving your trading? Honestly, having to explain it all the time on Top Step TV. Going to be straight up honest with you. For 2 years, I did my journal was just turning on OBS and the same way I'm kind of talking out trades to you guys right now. I would do it to myself and then just rewatch the recordings. Right. A couple of things I'm watching for. Am I reading the market correctly, or am I trying to impose my own opinion on the market and then taking trades from there? Um, when things go wrong, how am I processing that afterwards, right? If I have a trade idea that I thought was really good, the market didn't agree, I lose money on that. What was my action right after that? So having to do that all the time on Top Step TV definitely has helped. And outside of that, right? Because not everyone in the audience can just jump on a stream. You can just record your trades and show yourself. Outside of that, for me, it's really just kind of focusing on uh, execution. At this point, I don't need to add anything else to my trading strategy to feel confident enough to take decisions. I just have to take those decisions, right? I know what the numbers are going to look like. I know what my strategy says. I've back tested it. I don't even know how many times at this point. So it really is focus. It's kind of quieting everything else out, um, trying to eliminate as many distractions as possible, and go from there. Friday, for example, Friday I had my best trading day to year to date on Top Step accounts, and the first hour and a half, I was quote unquote distracted. Right now, I wasn't distracted. I was spending some time with my brother that I don't get to see that often. We took my niece and nephews to school, and we went to get breakfast. The markets are open, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, it's like normally I would be at my desk trying to make a trading decision right now, but life is saying do something different. Um, so I'm just going to completely ignore it, right? If can't have the time to completely dedicate to the charts, they don't exist. We get back to his house, goes to work. He works from home. I'm working from there as well. The market's presented a really good opportunity. And I say, okay, now I can't think about the money that I would have made if I was sitting at my desk. I wasn't there. Right. So anything that happened in this price action wasn't for me. I wasn't here. But now that I'm able to sit at my desk, what can I execute on and focus on what's presently in front of me? And everything else is a distraction. Um, what's the hardest part of trading, in your opinion? Admitting you're wrong. Claude, that's a good question. What's the hardest part of trading? Admitting you're wrong. We're not conditioned in any other part of life to accept being wrong. Um, where I was talking to one of the traders in my VIP group, and he's like, "I'm an engineer, and being wrong in engineering means that something's going catastrophically wrong. We have to accept being wrong here. We're a lot more like athletes. We make all the sports analogies and things like that, but it's true, right? You have to have a short term mindset, and next play mode mindset where one wrong trade shouldn't be the end of the world, right? As long as we manage it right. Now, if you are throwing the house at every single trade and it has to be right, you don't have a choice, right? It either has to be right or wrong. It's a lot of pressure, right? But coming to terms with that, just accepting, hey, yeah, I'm going to be wrong a lot doing this is difficult for sure. N Slug says, I still see opportunity cost sometimes when it comes to, yeah, I mean, so my trading mentor used to say all the time, he's just like, if you think about all the money that you didn't make today, when you look at the charts, you would drive yourself crazy, right? It's very easy if I miss this morning to say, "Oh yeah, my strategy says that I would have bought it right here." And, you know, normally I'd trail if I'm sitting at my desk, but I probably wouldn't have trailed this one. I would have held it, for 200 points all the way. I would have got out right here, right before this high. And then, this is where I would short. My strategy says I would short here. Then I would get short, and this is my target, right? That's very easy to do when we miss the trades, but what's really easy to do is, hey, if I wasn't sitting here for this, it didn't happen. Let me look at the charts from the point that I'm looking at them, and if they're not presenting an opportunity, great. I'll just move on. Uh, we need a Coach J segment, Wise Markets with Coach J. I think that's actually called At the Buzzer. Me and Coach Paul, again, at the buzzer every day. If you can't watch it live, I know sometimes people picking up their kids and things like that, and or just sat at your desk all day and you don't want to sit for another hour. Rewatch the segment after the fact. I know we have a bunch of traders that say they watch it as their pre-market prep the morning before. All right, let's see if we got any other trades setting up. Any other markets that we actually, let me just check the Japanese yen just because it can be a mover when it wants to be. And let's go see if there's any news. So tomorrow we have S&P manufacturing, ISM manufacturing number out after the open. Pretty quiet after that. Some numbers out of Europe also. Tomorrow should be fun trading the Nikkei or the yen with the Japanese unemployment rate. Some news out of Japan. So keep that in mind for tomorrow. Any news? So I like to look at the news for the week just to kind of set expectations for what we might have, right? If I know we have FOMC on Wednesday, I might not be expecting the most uh, directional markets Monday, Tuesday, right? Just because we know with some of those bigger numbers that the market is going to wait to make a decision. So, but I'm not seeing that this week. We got not. Oh, actually, we got non farm on Friday. Mm, we'll think more about that on Wednesday. Monday, I don't think Monday, Tuesday's price action is going to be considering non-farm too much, but as we get closer to it, it might. All right, we got about 10 minutes left. Again, today we're just going to go an hour, so we'll end it right at 9:30 Eastern. The rest of the week, Monday, Wednesday, we'll do our normal hour and a half. How do you draw your blue range box? So this box here is just a fib tool, right? I'm using a hotkey, which is Alt F. And for my fib retracements, I just have all of the, intermediate levels unchecked, right? So for me, I know, there are other traders. I had a trader in a VIP group, using all of the other fib levels. For me, I just want to know the high, low, and midpoint of whatever candle I'm looking at. And there was a question: how do you use your volume indicator at the bottom of your screen? Uh, I'm looking for anomalies in volume. Now, what does that mean? I'm looking for something that sticks out. Now, it has to stick out in the general sense of the markets, right? So I'm not going to look at the opening candle because that's always going to be high volume. I'm not going to look at the closing candle. That's always going to be high volume. But I'm looking for something like this, right? In the middle of the day, this candle right here sticks out. Then I have that fib tool. I want to know the high and the low of that candle. And then I'm making my trading decisions after this point. What does the market say about this range? Now, a ton of volume traded here. So after this point, what is the market saying? It tests it down to the lows. This is a support. Could this be an opportunity to buy if the market closes outside of this? Right? That's really all I'm doing. Other one here. And it's not going to be the same trade every single time, right? Sometimes it says to fade the extreme. Sometimes it says to go with the volume. But is that depends on the follow through afterwards, right? So, for example, I'll go back to the trade I took on Friday. Here's the short. Now, what I'm reading, once we have this volume here, right? Significant price action, decent volume, not the biggest anomaly, but the price action was significant. I said I got short at 50%. How am I reading this volume candle now? I want to see potential for continuation. So if price is going lower and volume is going lower, that means that there isn't enough convinced selling. So I'm in a short here, but I'm thinking position management as we come back down to this low of this candle here at 60 at 676. Because if that volume doesn't step in and continue to sell it, it's a 50-50. But as that volume starts to increase, we get another push here. Is it sustainable or is it just going to die? Now, see here, these three candles, sustainable volume, right? All kind of at the same level. I'm reading the flow of that. This is telling me to just stay in the trade, right? Because selling is continuing to come in. Even on this pull up here, you can see it. We talked in the Coach J chat on Friday about this. Any of these pops are opportunities to sell because the flow is heavy to the downside until that stops, until we get to this exhaustion here, and then we flip and potentially go the other way. I look at platinum or nat gas. Let's take a look. Take a look. Let me take a look at what gold is doing also. Um, Go back to that practice account. Uh, yeah, we're still kind of hanging out at this. Did I take another trade? What is this? What trade am I in right now? That doesn't matter. Uh, Take a look at platinum. Oh, micro Bitcoin. That's what it was. All right, let's take a look at platinum. Platinum on a daily. This looks like a decent buy actually. This looks a lot like what chart was this? Was that the Nikkei chart or the crude oil chart also, where we had flat line 200 moving average on the daily. We get extensions from it, right? We can see it in platinum. We trade up to the high, we trade down towards the lows. Is this the demand area where the market is turning around? Potentially, especially if we get a now this is saying we might have to wait to the end of the day, but if we get a daily close above 955 in platinum, I'd be a lot more bullish because it gives me an area to limit my risk right below this low of day today. If this holds as the low of day, to trade back up into this range. Let's see what we got on a 30-minute chart. 200 moving average again at 966. We can see that's kind of been a resistance on the way down every time we check it. But putting the whole puzzle together, longer time frame picture says we're in a demand area. So, you know, at some point, in order for us to trade back up to the top of that range, we're going to need to trade through this 200 moving average convincingly. So far, it's been a resistance, but we also haven't been at that higher time frame demand level. So could this be the test that we trade above it on a trade for today? Here's that first 30-minute open. Why am I using 30 minutes? It's because it's overnight. It's a little bit slower, but we can see 50% of that 30-minute holding. This is similar to the trade that I took in gold, and it's doing pretty much the same thing as gold, right? We are holding in the upper 50% of this range, which is great. Ideally, my entry could be here, but if not, that's okay. If I'm looking to get in platinum long now, I'm thinking about, how much room is there. Two things. What would my conservative price target have to be if I get long here, right? So let's just put it on. If I get long right here, my conservative price target has to be no, it sounds crazy. It's only $35, but my conservative price target has to be here. Why? Because the market is showing that every time it comes up here, it rejects. Now, could it just blow through this level? It could, but I have to think position management as it gets here because the last time the market said, it wanted to sell when it got up there. Now, the question is, would I take that trade if my risk at the minimum has to go below this 50%? Does it make sense to risk 35 bucks to risk 185 bucks to make 35? It doesn't. So I would not take this trade right here just because the trade location is not great. Now, same thing what we talked about with gold is if I let the market trade through this level, then come back and use it as a support. Now I'm more comfortable taking this trade because at that point, if we hold that high, now my ultimate target is back up at this 200 moving average, right? So conservative price target. This is a potential area of contention in the market. It doesn't make sense for me to take this trade here, and my risk really should be down here. So it really doesn't make sense. But if I can get better trade location, then I can put this trade on. All right. And that is a funny place, man. All right. Let's see what else we got here. We got a couple minutes left. Um, any questions that you guys have, let me know. Again, I'll be here all week on Top Step TV all week, so you guys will get some insight on how I trade, how I look at the markets, um, and go from there. How do you check the profit and risk like that without putting a trade on? So, Nate, that's a good question. Why I have a practice account. Uh, there's a couple of ways you can do it, right? Check the profit on the trade. I use Again, I always have Quantower charts up on the side, and there's a quick measurement tool in Quantower. So anytime I'm measuring risk to reward, I just do it over there. But if you don't have another platform, you don't want to use another platform, use TopstepX, open up a practice account, and just put it on there, where you can measure it real quick, right? Where I can say, hey, I want to buy platinum here, but I might be trading in my XFA, right? I don't want to put it on. I don't want to just put the trade on. So I just do a quick switch over to my practice account. Okay, I'm risking 170 to make 615. Then I'll switch back over and just take the trade. All right. Are you in the Illuminati, Lido? I'm not. Uh, prediction on gold for this week. We talked about it a little bit, and I'm gonna go to the ES. I think I'm gonna be trading the ES in fast markets tomorrow. Uh, So prediction in gold, I would not be surprised at a retest of 2,900. Um, yeah, that would be it, right? I'd be looking for a retest of 2,900 at some point. To the downside, if gold cannot find a buyer above 2,900, uh, this purple line here, which is the 50 moving average on the daily, is down at 2806. I would say at some point we get a test of that. Now, when that happens, I don't know. This is the first time we've traded under the 20 moving average since the year started. And if we just kind of look back on the charts, every time we get significantly under that 20 moving average, we get a test of the 50 if we're in a trend. So that's what I'd be looking at here. Let's see if buyers want to go back, test 2,900 and get above it. If so, trade us to new all time highs. But if they can't buy above 29, a retest of that 50, and that's for the week, right? That might not be for the day. For the day, I'm bullish up to 2,900. Right? What is my day job? I'm an IT consultant. Uh, a lot with infrastructure management. All right, I got nothing else. Richard Harris is teasing the buyers in the chat. Um, and right now the Nasdaq is in a range bound market, right? We pushed kind of up above 950s. Couldn't find a buyer above 950s, and we're trading back into it. If you're trading this, just be careful. Manage your risk. I don't see much of a directional move happening right now, but that doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities. Um, so what says, are you not comfortable doing this full time? Uh, you know, Comfortable, and is it necessary to do it full time? I think I do trade full time, right? Now, do I trade 12 hours a day? No. Um, So, at some point, and that's actually a really good point. So we'll end on that. When I first joined TopStep as a coach, we got to meet with Hoag early on, and he was just like, uh, everyone needs to find where trading fits in their life, right? And he said it himself. He's been trading for 40 years, and he doesn't know many traders that solely trade full time as their only income. Now, for me, it has to make sense as far as time goes, right? Do I have the time in my day in order to do, however many things, right? Multiple streams of income, I'm not going to turn them down. Now, at some point, if one starts affecting the other, then you make that decision. But why turn away money if you can do it all? Now, sometimes I think I probably overwork, and I'm having that conversation right now, right, about this year. Like, do we change some things around? Do we have some things look a little different? But why turn down guaranteed money? But it's a good point. It's a good point. How are Quantower's TPO charts? They're good. Quantower TPOs are pretty good. I don't use them often. I have used them in the past. I don't use them too often, but they're pretty good. Please answer me. I'm holding long in the MES 59.53.75. All right. Shifted the stop loss to 62.75. My TP is 72.75. What's your view? My view is if it fits your trading plan, take the risk. But let's talk about your trade. You're long from 53, right? And the one thing I don't want to do is say, hey, yeah, take the profit now, and then the market runs 200 points, and you're like, hey, that guy on YouTube told me to get out of this trade. You moved your stop loss to 62.75, so you're probably out, right? You just got tagged out right there. Good trade. Made 10 points. And your target was 72.75. So yeah, I think you did exactly what you're supposed to do on that trade. Thomas, there's 3 letters. That's the difference. All right. Andrew got that one out of here pretty quick. All right. I got nothing else. Let's go ahead and get out of here. It's been an hour. Thank you everyone for joining. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button. Remember, we got classes and sessions all the time with TopStep. Deanna is going to do the London Open at 3:30 a.m. Eastern time. Of course, we do the daytime show, which now starts at 8:20 Eastern time to get the opening call. I'll be on Fast Markets tomorrow with Nick Fortick, Dolby, Andre, Hoag, kind of trading it up with the team. And after the close, Coach Paul and I were at the buzzer, and then the classes in Discord. Right, don't forget about the classes in Discord. It's a ton of content. Do I suggest trying to watch all of it and keep up with all of it every single day? That's a full time job, right? But if you want a different perspective, you have coaches that trade in Discord and do classes in Discord. Coach Hoop, Coach Ray, Coach Vince. Coach Hoop is looking at fundamentals often. He's trading markets that don't get talked about often, but he's been killing it in his XFA, trading cattle and hogs, right? Which don't get a lot of shine, but they're markets that move. So if you're struggling with trading the equities and the metals and things like that, check out Coach Hoop in Discord, and Coach Ray and Coach Vince are great as well. I might get them on as guests at some point during the week or so for one of the shows, just so I don't have to talk as much. Thank you, everyone. Uh, Enjoy the rest of your night, and we will talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.